Well, it's time for RPL to return to France for the first time since Season 7. It has been a long time since we've been here, but we are back. The last ever winner at the circuit, a current F3 driver now. He's graduated. He is Joseph Loke, as you guys know him. But this time, in Season 10 of RPL Tier 1 at France, who's going to make their name heard. Welcome along, folks. We have a lot to get to. Apologies for the stream being on late. We were having stream issues. I will pin that in the Twitch chat. Therefore, you all are aware of why things are going on late. But I'm your commentator, play-by-play commentator, Ryan Searles. Alongside me is the co-commentator tonight, RPL Titan Iron. Once again, it's good to have you. And I think it's probably better to have me at this point than you at this right now with the way stuff has gone thus far.
Yeah, like I said, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's good to be here again with you. As said for the chat, very sorry about what has happened. We were just experiencing some technical difficulties. One of the difficulties was that when the stream went live a little bit ago, we were stuck on a buffering screen, but I'm seeing it on my phone right now. We are good. We are feeling amazing. We're back and ready to go. And well, he's loading back in. I mean, I know you guys won't be able to see it from my end, but we do have quite a lot of times set up. I'm seeing a bunch of 30s
Yeah, go through
here.
that, then we'll go through
We have
headlines.
3 people into 29s, and one guy. You'll easily see when you load in. One guy's into 28s.
That is Cookie, our Red Bull driver, who has dominated the season. We'll go over championship standings, and then we'll get to that sort of thing with headlines and penalties and changes. There's a lot of them. Let me just pause my game and unpause it so the audio is not so loud. We'll go on board with someone on a lap, but we talk about these headlines and things like that. First, we're going to go over the championship standings. Cookie leads the championship over Scyther by 27 points. Behind that is the fake TB, who just crosses the line to go 7th. He is 86 points back in the championship race. Then, for the constructor's sake, we have to go over the fact that Red Bull is 23 points ahead of McLaren. McLaren have had some changes just recently this week. We'll get to that in a moment. With that being said, though, we've got Mercedes, who we're on board with right now, with ATX Be Good, 117 back. So they're third. And still 3 teams in the constructors below 10 points. Williams at 9, Haas at 5, Alfa Romeo at 2. 7 minutes 30 to go in the session. We won't get a lot of hot laps, but we have a lot of information to get to you. So we're going to do that in the best of time. With that said, let's go over headlines right now. Here are your changes, penalties to be served, and everything you need to know for tonight's event. And by the way, welcome along, chat. I should have mentioned that prior, but good to have you all here finally. With that said, though, here are the headlines for tonight's event. You have L74G, which is now Luke Grange because he's changed to PC, and he's also changed from the Merc Academy to the Alpine Academy, having to serve a qualifying ban tonight. This is due to penalty points. He got little too much on those penalty points. Couple rounds prior is having to serve a qualifying ban due to his troubles. You have Jack, who's also going to the Alpine Academy. He switched from the Ferrari Academy to the Alpine Academy. Jack's never had a podium with Alpine, so we'll see what he does. Both are in Alpine. Here are the drivers on loan as well tonight, and this is not including the changes that we have that we're going to mention in just a moment. Hunt at LAX, a part of Haas, he's on loan. Bourbon is not on loan, but he's reserving tonight for AlphaTauri. Owen not on loan, he originally was going to be, but Korsman showed up last minute with no practice. So Owen is reserving for Williams. J&T, the team principal, reserving for Alfa Romeo. Zatsi reserving for Haas. And Beatnik on loan as well. He is in AlphaTauri. This is, just going to read off from his words, 75th Tier 1 star, and it's also the first time that he is reserving in Tier 1 outside the Merc Academy. Well, on loan, I should say, but it is reserving. Outside the Merc Academy since Season 8 Singapore. It's been a little bit for him. Let's continue with the headlines and changes very quickly as Korsman and George both feel they're safe into the next round of qualifying 5.5 minutes to go. Let's do this quickly. Weiso, Tier 1 Haas contract terminated. This was a mutual agreement. Cam and Andrea both had their Ferrari contracts terminated. This has changed a lot in the lineup. Usually, the transfer window would have been open last week, but there's no more of those the transfer window shenanigans. Therefore, with that being said, for tonight's event, you're going to see lots more changes because of that. Because there's a lot more flexibility and everyone else is here from those changes. So as I said, Cam and Andrea Ferrari contract terminated. Well, where are they now? Andrea is in McLaren. He made his debut last week, would have got points, but was disqualified due to the fact that he did not do the sign-up form. I think he's done the sign-up form this time. So that has changed for him in terms of getting things better prepared. We also have, in terms of changes, Scyther has gone from McLaren to Ferrari, the biggest change of them all, it seems. Cam, because he got dropped from the Ferrari seat and had his contract terminated there, he's now at Williams full-time. There was a few more changes that we should mention, 2 of them to be exact. We've got Miniko, the Merck Academy assistant now. Shanghai dropped to reserve this because of failing objectives. This is what allowed Cam to get a full-time seat with Williams ahead of tonight's event. Titan, I know it's been a while since, I've heard from you, but any thoughts on changes quickly as we see Scyther, one of those guys with changes? He goes back to the Ferrari Academy and the Ferrari seat from McLaren. Any quick thoughts on things like that, or other changes like Andrea, who we've seen a little bit about last week, a part of Alfa Romeo, now a part of McLaren?
Yeah, we've had quite a few changes happening. Scyther going from McLaren to the Ferrari. I will say, as being the co-team principal of the Alpine Academy, I think it is a massive shock, and I will say I am a bit bummed out that Scyther had to depart, because he was basically one of the main catalysts to have the McLaren team challenge Red Bull week in and week out. But yeah, I'm a bit bummed out, but I mean, it was his choice. He made the choice. He made the decision. So I mean, we'll see how. I mean, he's gonna be back at Ferrari for the first time since last season. Let's see, Andrea moving from Alfa Romeo to McLaren. It's definitely a unique choice for him, because Andrea, he impressed last week, getting into Q3 for the first and his debut in the Alfa Romeo. Jack and Luke in the Alpine. It's gonna be quite interesting, but quite a bit of a interesting fun fact with Luke. Even though he has that qualifying ban and he's in the Alpine, crazily enough, and I could be incorrect, I might have to double check, but Luke actually started Tier 1 full-time in Alpine when they were known as Renault.
Correct, that is true. So let's see what
another
he can do.
driver I actually want to note, Korsman, who's sitting in third. He's back after missing out a couple of weeks. The reason for it is because, and he actually mentioned to it, some vermin, aka mice, has chewed apart his Ethernet cable, and he was worried about participating today because of his lag. But I mean, I was on board with him for a couple of his laps. He looks okay for the time being, but he does say he did say he has a new Ethernet cable en route. So he'll be back in full swing once it arrives.
Good to hear. We got drivers retiring from the session because they believe they are safe and into the next round of qualifying. We have really had no time here to go through a hot lap. We have one chance to do it, and it's the fake TB who is facing trouble here and almost got hit from the Academy teammate there of the Williams, either Owen or Cam. Gonna assume that it was Owen. As here's TB coming through turn 3, 4, and 5 area now. He was able to cut that right bit and end up not invalidating turn 5 and 6 now to the sector split. 82 thousandths up on the time. He was asking his teammate Be Good if he feels like the car is not as well around here. Well, we had some car performance stats thanks to Scyther before this race about all these cars. The Mercedes is fast in Sector 1. That's the one note I made about it that we should be aware of for tonight. So Sector 1 is where TB is going to find the time here to try and be safe into the next round of qualifying. Sector 2 now he goes through, and it's 2/10 up on the time. He is purple. So a lot of improvement compared to the previous lap that he did prior in the second sector. Now, a sweep in section right here in the last sector. Checkered flag is waving. Owen and Zatsy could not get the checkered flag. They are a part of the bottom 5 and out of qualifying. And we'll see if J&T or Beatnik do join them or knock out Bourbon, Barney, or Cam, or even TB at this rate. Here's TB, the final corner, approaching his way now, and across the line he'll come with the DRS applied to the start-finish line. He was improving, but will it still count enough? Yes, it will. 5th place for him. We have more drivers coming across the line, but not too many of them. Beatnik up in the first sector, J&T invalidated. So it's only Beatnik who can make a difference over the teammate Bourbon, who needed to improve, and he does improve. So now, Bourbon, who gets ahead of Barney and sneaking ahead of him, will be put in a race with Beatnik and Barney now. So Bourbon, safe into the next round. It's all going to matter in the 75th Tier 1 start of Beatnik for him to make this one count.
Yeah, Beatnik, just after he got through the second sector split, he is currently 3/10 up. He's got to find another 3/10 more in order to get himself out of the bottom 5. He has to beat a 30.203 to get it done. Let's see if he's got it as he comes across the line, and he just misses out by 71 thousandths of a second. And Cam has called it, but Beatnik just barely loses out on qualifying.
We weren't able to cover the bottom 5 a whole lot because of being late to this session. I only got here halfway through due to technical difficulties. My apologies, folks, but this is your Q1 order right here with Cookie on top, Scyther second, Korsman trying to avoid any sort of issues this time. Finally back. Welcome back, Korsman. He's back to the top 3 as well. So that's the top 3 in Q1, made up of 3 different teams. Lower than that, you have one of the Williams making it through, one of the AlphaTauris making it through, and one of the Alfa Romeos making it through, because the other ones are a part of the bottom 5. Here are the guys in those bottom 5 areas. Beatnik, Owen, Zatsy, J&T, and I'm gonna refer to him as Luke now because he's Luke Range and not L74G now with the qualifying ban. So that bottom 5, bottom 4 in terms of pace who got eliminated are all made up of Tier 2 drivers reserving for teams tonight or on loan.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is going to be interesting. And Beatnik, I mean, I feel sorry for him. He's beating himself up just a little bit over just barely making it into queue number 2. I mean, he would have loved to possibly get himself into queue number 2. But, I mean, his teammates through, Bourbon and Barney, was a little surprised himself to make it through to Q2. I'm just wondering what will happen. Now, one thing I'm actually wondering about is with Cam in getting into Q2 and that Williams. I wonder if he'll follow up and maybe put that Williams into Q3. I mean, it's possible. We've seen it happen before.
We've seen a Williams do it before, and we've also seen Cam be impressive for Alfa Romeo, exactly where he started in this league, and now he's in a bottom car once again. His performances recently have not been well, but the pace has been there from Cam, the American driver. He has taken fastest lap once this season, and it came for Alfa Romeo, obviously. The one time he was having good pace for them this season in that beginning portion of the season thus far. And he's the only driver outside of Cookie and Scyther to have fastest laps this season. There's only 3 drivers who've done it. Cam is just the lone one compared to them 2. And I say lone one because he's not even in the top 20 in points. That's how bad his season has been. And it's been that god-awful because of the amount of sheer mistakes and crashing out and issues he's had, either through sometimes his fault or sometimes no fault of his own, Baku and Monaco being the two famous ones from him. But Q2 underway. I'm not going to give any predictions because we need to get through this session with hot laps. That's the one thing we've been lacking in terms of what you saw in Q1, folks. But as I mentioned, the drivers and constructor standings, 27 points separate Cookie and Scyther into tonight's race. Red Bull and McLaren separated by 23 points. One of those teams we didn't mention is Aston Martin. We're going to go on board with Monaco, and then I'll give it to Titan to cover the second half of the lap. But we return to the circuit where you will now see our first proper hot lap here without any pressure. These are the bankers for these guys, and these are likely unused sets. Turn 1 now. Turn 1, Monaco said he gets frustrated with. Same with turn 2. A lot of curbing right there and a lot of runoff to where if you make a mistake, you will not hit the wall most likely. And a lot of places like turn 3 where you have a chance to either invalidate your lap time or use a ton of the circuit to do other things. Turn 4, 5, and 6 now Monaco goes through. Just a sweeping section right here where it can be tricky for the driver. And to turn 7 and then now to the back straight, it is... with DRS applied into the chicane we go now. This is exactly where your lap will be figured out if it was make or break to the first sector and then parts of the second sector to figure out now in the final sector what you need to achieve as he goes through the curbs and the chicane.
Absolutely, and now working his way through and completing Sector 2, 50.1 for Sector 2 split. Now heading into that spoon corner. Nice and easy through. Anyone's style can handle that kind of corner. He does pretty good. Now into the next one. I mean, I'm bad with the turn numbers. I haven't been here in a while. But here he goes, working his way through the next couple of corners. Now crossing the penultimate corner and into the final corner itself. On his way, rocketing down the straight, gear up through the gears, getting him up high, and here we go across the line. And he kicks it off with a 30.1 for Monaco, and it responds with a 29.8 by his teammate.
He's been successful here. This is one of the circuits De Chiller does a lot better at. Jack Miles splits both Aston Martins. We're going to see who's next to start a lap or on a lap. Korsman is coming to a lap soon. Next across the line will be a McLaren. That is Andrea. Andrea is going to get in a lap that is fastest. As I was saying about De Chiller, it was a pole for him in the Season 1 running of this race and a win. Also, it's funny because he finished second to the McLaren here the last time we were here of Joseph Loke. Also next across the line is Reese Dainty, 4/10 ahead of the pack. Also next after that will be Scyther or George. It's George. George is next, second fastest for him. That is a lot closer compared to where he was last week.
Yeah, it looks like Hunted and Be Good, the next two, they have invalidation, so they're going to have to wind up going again, which means the next one currently on a lap, well, would have been Scyther, but he's invalidated as well.
So now we'll get ready to go to Korsman, who's about to start a lap in just a moment, and I think he's just trying to get out of the way. He might invalidate this in next lap. We'll watch and be careful with him to see if he does do that. You said next would have been Scyther, invalidated lap time there. Actually, because I think Korsman just got this and next lap. We'll watch Hunted for the meantime and then switch back to Korsman. Hunted through the chicane now. This is a section where you can just jump over that curb. And now he's about to get a slipstream from the teammate of the Ferrari in the same academy. Here is the Ferrari of, I believe, George giving slipstream. There you go. George is helping out the teammate. And how much longer will he help him out? Right here, George is going to get out the way and almost Hunted having to take evasive action. Now we go to onboard action with Korsman. Turn 3 here for Korsman, where you can cut a lot of that inside curb, but track limits in this section from 1 through 6 is going to be very tricky and easy to snap the rear around this section. 6 and now to 7. Korsman out very wide and flexing his line a ton. DRS going to be applied here. He's had a lot of time to get ready for this lap with getting out of the way of other drivers. More drivers crossing the line, but here he comes clunking over the curbs right here. The chicane, which makes up turn 8 and 9. And he goes to the sector split, where he now will head toward turn 10 and 11, which will be the final sections of his lap here. Right here, the first right is flat out, but the second right, you lift a little bit, and sometimes you do brake. And you brake at least later in the section. And now to turn number 12. Lots of lines in this area, Titan. Now this is your driver, Korsman, who's missed the last few weeks. That will pay a big difference for him because now the pressure's put back onto you in Q2.
Quite indeed, as Korsman's making his way through the final corner, getting back up to the gears down the main straight. Looks like Scyther just came across 29.3 for him. Where will Korsman respond? 29.7. That puts him just ahead of Scyther's teammate of George. Bit of a platonic partnership, I would say, between Scyther and George. They've had a little bit of history in the past. But yeah,
Yes,
Korsman sitting right now, third fastest for Q2. Next up, who's currently on the lap, is Cookie. He's on his way into the final corner now.
Korsman was just talking about in the voice chat he's in with Cookie and other drivers as well amongst them that the first sector Korsman did was not so great, but the last sector Cookie comes through now and absolutely smashes the field out the water. It is a 28.8 in Q2 to set him fastest. He's ahead of Scyther, who's second place, and I was just going to speak about Scyther, Titan. I do find that interesting that he's alongside George in that pairing because for the longest time, them two didn't like each other, and the last time that they were teammates together was the Formula Endurance race a couple weeks ago in Monza for Red Bull. George was there, a part of the team. Scyther was on loan. I believe George was on loan too, actually. This time, we're going to start you with Fake TB. You'll start Sector 1, and then you'll give it to me by Sector 3. Turn 1, 2 now for TB.
Absolutely on board with TB as he's making his way down into turn number 3. The chicane turns 3, 4. Now into the very tight of turn number 5. Just have to be careful with that curb. You don't want to get invalidated there. Now through turn 6, getting right up on the gas, right up on the power. Through 7, down the back straight. DRS flied open as TB making his way down, heading towards the chicane next, getting up to 205 miles an hour into the braking zone of turns 8, 9, and 10. As he's making his way back up to the gears, up to the sector split. Let's see what kind of a time he's got for that. 49.797, not bad for him there as he makes his way through turn number 11.
And TB, we should be surprised a little bit to see the Mercedes that low with him and be good in Q1. The car is third fastest around the circuit, but quite a ways off of Red Bull and Ferrari. This is exactly where we should be projecting that lap to be, around where Korsman is. So the final 2-3 corners he's heading through now, this section, we'll see a lot of wheel-to-wheel racing tonight. Lots of different lines you can take during these battles, but TB is right next to these curbs, and now he's on the exit curb off the final corner, rear wing wide open to the start-finish line now. The fake TB gets a little real now, with the top 4 being a part of his name for the first time in Q1 or Q2. He was 5th at the end of Q1. He's 4th in Q2. Let's see who's on a lap. Minico is on a lap. This is before anyone starts a lap. We'll cover the rest of his lap because he's going through the section that TB was going through. The Aston around the circuit is very good in high-speed corners. He was just through one of those not too long ago, and now here he comes to the final 2 corners. The Aston Martin driver, who's not had a podium in RPL, has had some decent runs with this team, some decent runs with other teams. Now, DRS wide open, 6th gear, the battery already drained, deployment used. That's how bad it is. 4th place for him, just short of the top 3 once again.
Yeah, Minico, just like with last week, he is showing really great signs. Holy wow!
Jack Miles! He just took those 2.5 miles with the best we've seen in quite a bit. The Alpine is back inside the top 3 in a qualifying session.
Well, I mean,
that's a nice surprise.
I mean, for the constructor, this is their home track. So
that's
Jack
true.
Feeling the stride and doing pretty good. P3 in Q2, very good surprise there.
That
what I was saying just a little bit ago in regards with Minico, he's showing his stride just like he did last week in just like he did last week in Spain. He qualified P5 after Q3 in Spain, hung around with TB, Scyther, and be good for a long period of time as Andrea gets himself into 5th place with that McLaren. But Minico was doing really good hanging around in that fight for the podium until a late race collision with Be Good sabotaged his chance of fighting for a podium. I think in Minico's case, with him qualifying this high, this could be a redemption arc for him.
Absolutely for him. We have only one driver active in RPL from France, as far as I'm aware, and that is Redfire Tiger, but he's not in tonight's race. The guy who is in tonight's race that we should be looking out for in terms of history on the circuit is the Chiller, who has the most wins here of anybody, a 10th up on the time as he comes to the 2nd sector. Darius's history on the circuit should not go unnoticed because I said most wins, most poles. Most poles at 2. Everyone around the circuit who's won has only won once. And as for Darius's podiums around here, it's tied 2nd most with 2, and he's looking to get himself in to Q3 from Q2. Final 3 corners he's approaching. He's going to hang it toward the right side of those curbs and the inside part of these curbs. And then not going to touch the inside curb in the final corner, but going to ride the outside curb. The DRS wide open for him. To the start-finish straight he goes. It is 8th fastest, just behind Minico by a little bit. On their use sets, Darius was faster by 0.2, and then Minico has bettered him just by 1/10. Darius has had the pace in recent weeks, but he's not had the results. He needs that badly, and a nice shock there. Be Good for Mercedes, faster than Cookie. Oh boy.
Did not expect that. Be Good right now on top of the board with that Mercedes, and his teammate, TB, sitting in 8th, and I cannot believe I'm saying it, but he is likely at risk of being knocked out.
Reese on a lap for Red Bull, and today could be a historic day for Red Bull because they've never had a pole position around this circuit, and Q3 will be the target for that. Purple in Sector 1, a little wiggle from Reese, but the thing for Reese that's historic about him tonight is the fact that he could tie a record of most podiums with a single team. Luke has it at 32 with Mercedes. Reese has one behind that, 31. 2nd sector now. This is the section where the Red Bull can take this car a lot more different. George knocks himself up to P3, making TB down to 9th. And Korsman could be taking himself into the top 10, and he is at risk of elimination. Fastest through the 2nd sector was Reese. And this is the car that is 2nd place on our timing charts, and the car that Be Good just beat a moment ago. With that said, Reese is negotiating his way through the final couple of corners now, and this is the circuit that he won at for the first time in his RPL Tier 1 career in a race that was shortened early in Season 5. That was with Mercedes, the only time he's ever won from pole. You can see him arcing that final corner, locking the rears. Darius is out, so that will help TB, but Reese comes across the line now to make it 3rd fastest, and he is just a 10th off the teammate, but they're all chasing Be Good at the top of the board. Korsman's 5th fastest. Darius is knocked out, so it's down to the other drivers further behind in the bottom 5 to make a difference. Hunted couldn't do it on loan for Haas. Next across the line is Bourbon, who couldn't even set a lap time. Checker flag waving, and it's up to Cam now, who's down by 2,000s, and Barney, who's now negotiating his way through the 2nd sector split.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Bourbon invalidated right somewhere in Sector 3. That's why he is done. Barney, one of the only ones yet to get a lap complete, as he's working his way through the French spoon corner now. He has to beat, in order to get himself into Q3, he has to beat a 29.488 to see himself into Q number 3. I don't know if Cam's capable of doing it. Here he comes across the line. He does improve, but unfortunately can't do it. 12th fastest for Cam in his first race in Williams. Let's see if Barney can do it as he roars his way down the straight. Can he get it done? And it looks like no. 29.8. That is only good enough for 13th. So Barney, Cam, the Chiller, Bourbon, and Hunted are out of queue number 2, and TB just makes it while his teammate is top of the board.
5 different teams a part of the relegation zone in Q2, and we have Q3 about to get underway, made up of 2 Red Bulls, 2 Mercedes, 2 Ferraris, 2 McLarens, 1 Alpine. Jack Miles' first race for Alpine full-time on this game cycle, and Minico for Aston Martin, who continues to be a big shock as well. The Canadian driver trying to make Canada proud by getting onto the podium for the first time with their nationality. Never happened in RPL Tier 1. Time for Q3, but Cookie has got a challenge. It looks like Be Good is going to be the one to make something of it. I really do wonder what would be happening with the first sector in terms of us flashing back on Q2, because in Scyther's car performance notes, it was Mercedes that he made note of being fast in Sector 1, and it was Red Bull that he made note of being OP on the straights and a rocket ship. So it's a little bit interesting here that Be Good in a Mercedes, in a car that's supposed to be 3 to 5 tenths back on this circuit, has gone fastest in Q2. But just remember, though, even though Cookie was really much ahead of the pack there for quite a bit of the session up until Be Good stole it, he was probably on a lap where he wasn't at 100% pushing rate. So we should be seeing what Q3 provides now with pole position up for grabs. Red Bull has not had one around this circuit, whereas teams such as Mercedes, Ferrari, they've had multiple around here. And McLaren, who got the last ever pole position the last time we raced here, have one to their name.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just missing my head. If I saw it right, the fastest time with Q2, it was a 28.8, right?
I don't remember, but I can trust. Or
I think
I
it
can
was.
trust. I read Barney's chat. Sorry, I can check.
to pull up the page. I had to pull up the page for the French Grand Prix. And you're gonna laugh at this. In real life, for the 2022 race in France, compared to these guys here, Be Good's time is a hair over 2 seconds faster than Leclerc's pole time at this track last year.
That's crazy.
But aside from that, I'm making my prediction. Since
Go
these
ahead.
guys did a 28.8 in Q2, I'm actually going to say I think we may see, and I'm going hair raising when I say this. I'm thinking we're going to see a 28.6 for pole.
Interesting. I'm going to go one better than you. I'm going to say we're going a 28.5. Just a reminder for those of you in chat, give us predictions for pole this time. I'm going to let you guys know as well, and on this secret, F122 last game, the pole position from Joseph Loke for McLaren was a 30.1. I think we're going to better that. Either way, I'm going a 28.5. Invade says 28.5. Barney says 28.3. Get those predictions in. Here's the first lap, and the first banker time going to be set by Minico. Minico is on a lap here for Aston Martin. Here's turn 3 and 4 for him now, where that inside curb on the right side, you can cut a major amount. 22.0 for the first sector. Turn 6 and now 7 he goes through. 6 is a tricky section where only a few cars can do flat out or at least push it. And this circuit, you want to run a lot of downforce for these cars. Mercedes will definitely need some sort of straight line speed tonight, considering how slow they are in a straight line. But he comes to the chicane now, Minico does, hoping to improve on what he was able to do in Q2 on the banker at least. I'm sure for most of these guys, it is used sets. But with that being said, the sector split now, it's a 49.7. And here comes Minico through the sweeping right-handers. The first one, which is flat out. The second one, which you can take a variety of lines through. And he's keeping this valid right now. Penalties will be a big thing in tonight's race with track limits. He's got to watch out for this in the final sector, where it's easy to go over these curbs and make a mistake or even just push the limits. This inside curb right here is where you can delete your lap time, not meaning to. Final corner now for Minico, the Canadian driver, who's going to rev it up and come across the line now with 7th gear and now 8th gear. Pole position is 29.5, the time to beat, but further on back, it's Andrea and Korsman, the next ones to come across the line. First is Cookie before that, a 28.1.
You gotta be
That
kidding me.
betters Q2 by a staggering margin. Korsman's P3 behind Minico, and Jack Miles can't even get anywhere near Cookie's time either. 1.7 back. What's the Ferrari capable of? That's Scyther now. He is P2 for them. A really good qualifying car, and a car that's pretty good everywhere around this circuit, is going to be second fastest, showing that's true because Reese can't even get within a second of the teammate. George is just right behind Reese. Them two have bad blood, so watch out if they start near each other on the grid. And no one else is completing a lap. Be Good invalidated. TB's on a lap now. We'll switch you to him, Titan, to cover him because Andrea's invalidated. So invalidations being a big key factor right now in this event, in qualifying.
Yeah, Andrea went a little bit, just a tiny bit too wide out of the final corner. So the lap that he completed and the one that he's on now are both gone. But we're on board. I'm on with TB as he gets through the final corner now, roaring up through the gears. He was towards the back in Q1, towards the back in Q2, gets himself up to P5 and P4 beforehand, but only P8 for him. Slowest out of this field.
That is a shock right there. TB only 8th, slowest of them all thus far who's ran laps. Not good. Andrea is off in his second start. I think just probably letting people go instead of crashing, so we'll watch out when he does lap. But right now, it's the guy who they were chasing in Q2 after everything was said and done. It's Be Good. There's been a lot of questions about his capabilities, though. I know he's been P4, but there's been a lot of questions about, is he Annex? Is he a Smurf account? Is he legitimate? Well, now we're about to find out. He is making mistakes. That's what we're finding out. For the second time, he's really much on the limits to where he's invalidating for the second time in a row. And he could not get a lap in. At the beginning of Q3, he's going to have to rely on a possible one and done here later on.
Yeah, would Be Good. Unfortunately, he's getting. If I'm just gonna say the RPL term for it, because I'm just thinking of it. Be Good gained the chiller treatment of getting a bunch of invalidations. I mean, quite a few people have gotten a lot of invalidations, but yet this track can be a bit brutal in regards to track limits and track limit penalties. Some areas of the track to watch out for in regards to track limit warnings and penalties. Turns 1 and 2. Turn 4. On the exit of turn 5, the chicane of 8, 9, and 10. And the final corner. Those are some known areas that you could easily get track limit warnings and penalties if you're not careful.
It's really unfortunate we didn't pick up Cookie's full lap because the 28.1 he got was a very rapid one. A lot of the drivers talking about it, and the fact of the matter with that lap that he's pulled off is, Invade jokingly says, check his PC files. The thing we're going to say about Cookie's lap that he wanted me to mention, and I am acknowledging what you said, Cookie. Yes, I know I didn't catch your lap, but the thing I am acknowledging from his lap, though, is he said that Sector 3 was full of power slides. So we'll watch out when Andrea does his lap, which could likely be our final flying hot lap here that we go on board with. We'll watch if Andrea ends up doing the same thing that Cookie did to get himself up there. McLaren have the 4th fastest car on the circuit. In terms of where the cars end up lining up, Red Bull and Ferrari are quite far ahead of the pack. Ferrari have a gap on Mercedes by a good 0.3 in terms of the next best. Mercedes and McLaren are close. And then it's Aston who are 5th fastest, about 0.3 back from Mercedes. Alpine are close to Aston as well, so no surprise that Minico and Jack Miles are within striking distance on the board of one another in their lap times and on the places that they're starting as of right now. But Alfa Romeo, Haas, AlphaTauri, and Williams, the bottom 4 teams, close with one another in terms of our car performance chart. And the McLaren, really good on the straights right now. That's going to be their advantage. One of the fastest cars for top speed. We've got a car that has good feel as well that we're going to be riding on board with now. And the car that got the last pole position around the circuit most recently with Joseph Loke, now in F3. Now Andrea, a part of ETE, crossing the line with DRS applied. Titan, I'm going to have you start this. Hold on. Collision. Both teammates have come together. Korsman came out of the pit lane in the way of his teammate, and now Be Good goes by to watch what just happened right there. Catastrophic from McLaren. Andrea is not going to have a lap at all because of Korsman. Korsman will surely see the store's office. Oh my!
Oh my god, I just had a front row seat of that. Oh my god, that was just terrifying to watch. Oh my god. Oh, man.
My god.
And to make things worse also, Korsman got a 5-place grid drop for that smash. With Andrea. So no matter where Korsman wraps up, he is going to be losing 5 places. So if he stays where he is in 6, he's going to get dumped down to 11th. Oh my god.
I was just about to have you cover Andrea's lap, or at least the start of it, and then get to me in sector 3. Oh man, I'm like thinking right there, I'm like, I have to say something. You were about to say that yourself as well. We're going to go on board with Miniko, and then right after we'll go on board with Cookie once he completes the lap. But now we're on board with Miniko. I'll do the first 2 corners. We've not talked about that quite a bit. Turn 1 and 2. This is make or break where drivers can lose time. That's something Miniko, Cookie, Scyther, those 3 have talked about. And turn 3, you can cut a lot right here. Let's watch it. Right on that curb. Titan, take it away here and then give it back by the end of sector 2.
Absolutely. Miniko currently working his way through turn 6 and 7. About 1,500ths, 0.15 up on sector 1. Pretty good for him as he's roaring down that back straight, getting up through the gears, getting to 200, 201, 202, just as it peaks 203 into the braking zone of turn 8, 9, and 10. Working his way through, up through the gears. We'll see what he's got for sector 2 split. And it's a 1/4 of a second up. Very good for him as he flies through turn 11 and heads to roar on through sector 3.
At this rate, with the checkered flag waving, Miniko is looking at a projected P3 right now, which could be his best start in RPL. He has had a P4 shocker with Haas, good starts with Mercedes, good starts with that Aston Martin, and had a decent qualifying in Australia earlier this season when he was a part of the Ferrari Academy in the main car. Now, since he switched over to this Aston Martin, he's had good pace and good showings, but the checker flag is waving for his name to come across first. It's going to be Miniko improving, but it will be 3rd fastest. He's just off of Scyther. That is amazing from him. We're going to switch to Cookie, who's on a flying lap as well, because he has invalidated that lap. Cookie could not maximize everything out of it, but he tried. Jack Miles next for Alpine, making it a really good start for them. P4 as well in his first start with the team this game cycle. Next across the line is Reese Dainty. First pole position around this circuit came in Season 5. Can it be the first for that car around this circuit? No, it's 3rd fastest, but he did improve. Cookie's trying to hang on for pole. He's coming across the line with a deleted lap time to see what it could have been. Not any better. Now, Scyther's up by 2/10 right now, and he's also just with his teammate in the thick of things further on back. George, who's coming across the line now. Scyther trying to improve. He does improve, but only 2/10 off. Can George do better for Ferrari? He can. Up 1 place, but it's going to be the first time around the Paul Ricard circuit that Red Bull will take pole.
Yeah, now looking at with the new updates and everything, I forgot to mention it earlier with Andrea. When his lap got invalidated, he had a 29.021, which if it was legal, it would have been where George was in 5th place had it not invalidated. But I'm still reeling over those McLarens smacking around into each other, and Yeah, Cookie pole with a 28-1, Scyther 28-3, and Reese with a 28-8. But looking forward back here, Korsman, who is 7th, but unfortunately with that 5th place grid drop, it'll move TB up to 7th, Be Good to 8th, Andrea 9th. Um, let's see. Whoever's in 11th will go to 10th. Whoever's in 12th will go to 11th, and Korsman will have to start in 12th place.
I think that grid penalty from him rightfully deserved because of what he caused Red Bull and Ferrari front row. We've not had a front row lockout since the British Grand Prix last season, round 10. We almost had it with Reese and Cookie there, but Scyther in that powerful qualifying car for Ferrari couldn't do much there to get pole position. He said he couldn't do any better than that. And Cookie invalidated the final lap, so who knows if he could have done better. Either way, the top 3, Cookie, then Scyther, then Reese, and Minico just outside the top 3 once again. That's the big shock of qualifying for sure for Aston. That car trails Red Bull by 9/10 around the circuit, and it was Minico just right there under a second as well. So lots of good showing from him once again tonight in his pace. With that said, let's go over strategy. For Red Bulls, it should be soft medium. It's very easy to do around the circuit for them, or medium soft. For the other teams, it's medium to hard. Not where the pit stop lost time, but you do gain a decent bit back in the pit lane in terms of your battery because it is similar to the way that Silverstone is.
Yeah, I'm wondering it as well. I was just taking a look at the driver's chat. Korsman did completely own up to the fault. He was not paying attention to the surroundings of the track because he was working on brake bias and stuff like that, and was not paying attention and did not see Andrea until the collision. So, I mean,
Unfortunate.
Korsman owning up fault, but I mean, if it wants a game reported, he's looking in some big trouble for this.
And he rightfully deserves it too. It's unfortunate for him because he's usually one of our cleaner drivers in RPL, but caused a very careless accident. But he admitted it, so that's all you can ask for if you're McLaren. Doesn't change what happened to his teammate, though. 5-place grid drop, we'll see some guys move up. And it's almost time for lights out for the return in France for the first time since Season 7. Let's see. Here they come for the lights now.
Should be good.
Cookie switch to softs. Here come the lights. The return to France in RPL is about to kick underway, and it's underway now. Lights are out. Away we go. Cookie off the line quite well compared to Scyther. He's going to cover him off big time. Everybody in the back scattering. They're 4 wide toward the back, but single file all the way up till 5th place where George and Jack go side by side. The trouble we see at turn 1 through 2 usually on the opening lap has been avoided. Jack trying to get the inside line for turn 3 there on George for 5th. Couldn't do it. TB there. Making contact with Jack. Side-by-side action right there. Reese is close for 2nd place, but Jack holding on for now. TB getting his nose back in there. The Chiller's also side-by-side with Andrea, who's trying to get places up the grid. Same with Korsman. Korsman 9th. Andrea 10th, the teammate in behind, and now squawking around with the Chiller. 3-car race into the chicane between them, but further up in front of that, Reese wants to challenge Scyther. He's not close enough. Andrea down the inside. Cam is right there in the wings. The Chiller hopping over the curb and going to cost himself some time. Everybody looks to still have a front wing on their car by the end of this lap. As of right now, into the 2nd sector in front of that, the 2 Merc teammates are going to swap.
Yeah, the Mercedes wind up switching over as Be Good and TB switch positions. I just watched in turn number 4, Jack and TB had a bit of a scuffle, but they came out okay. No harm, no foul between the two of them. Everyone's working their way and getting themselves into position. But yeah, right at that start, just seeing that 4 wide in the back of the field was pretty wild to watch. But Cookie coming across the line to complete lap number 1. He is 1.4 seconds ahead of Scyther. Reese down the inside in the turn number 1. Overtakes Scyther to claim 2nd place.
Apologies, I missed that, folks. But yes, Scyther has been overtaken by Reese, and I think Scyther wants to have a go back at Reese. He can't do so right there. Also, from the lap 1 shenanigans, biggest gainers and biggest winners include Owen. Would have been Beatnik, but Owen overtook Beatnik there. Also, Luke, big gainer from the qualifying band, 16th now from 20th. The only other gainers up front would include Korsman, 3 places, Be Good as well, and Reese just gained that 1 spot. But down places the big loser, Barney and Bourbon. So now we head toward the chicane further on back. Moves being made with Zatsy, Beatnik, and Owen. A 3-car battle into the chicane. Nothing made from it, it looks like, but I think Zatsy is trying a cutback now, which is unsuccessful. So everybody, single file for the time being, up until 2nd place, which is about to see a move here. Scyther on the inside line, having a peek at Reese, but cannot make anything from it. On lap 2, Cookie's pulled out a 2-second gap.
Yeah, absolutely. And just took a peek at the tires everyone is on. Owen, Beatnik, Zatsy, and the Red Bulls on the soft compound tire. Scyther, Minico, George, Jack, the Chiller, Andrea, and Hunted on the medium compound tire, and everyone else is on the hard compound tire. DRS now enabled.
Reese sets the fastest lap. He's going fast for 2nd place in this race, but that's not going to matter for now. 2 seconds back from our race leader. Further on back, it's a big race down the main straight. Luke Grange on the inside of Zatsy. 2 league owners of RPL go wheel to wheel here at turn number 2, and the Haas of Hunted has to take evasive action, avoiding both of them. Luke Grange gets a 5th place spot gained in this race thus far. Further up in front, it's DRS for Scyther on Reese. That Ferrari will wear very quickly. And considering how it is around the circuit, he's at least got to stay in behind Reese for now, but he's not going to wait much longer. He's going to have a go down the inside, and he will reclaim 2nd place. Further on back, George is up into 4th. That's the best he's ever had in this league in Tier 1. He's up to 4th over Minico's down to 5th, and I don't think anyone else traded spots, but it's a action-packed race here with most of the field being in DRS.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing quite a few DRS trains happening. Currently, the biggest right now is the one being led by George. It stretches from Minico all the way down to Cam, and just seeing Luke clearing Beatnik, by the way, to get himself into 14th.
Reese was also ducking out on Scyther there to either not hit the back of him or make a move or get a move ready here. So both Ferraris doing well around this circuit, as to be expected, and Cookie sets the fastest lap. Behind that, the teammate of Reese going to stay in behind Scyther. Scyther already down to 41% on the battery already.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the Ferraris are really good on that straight, but the tire wear will come into effect later on. Unless what's changed, currently Ferrari, the worst car in regards to tire wear. Ooh, just saw George get really loose on the exit at turn number 5. That could open the door for Minico to go for an attack to get himself back into that 4th place. Here he goes down the inside, and he gets it done onto the down before the braking zone, and he gets it done. Minico up into 4th place, and Korsman just clears TB to get himself into 8th. And TB first in the penalty box.
Lots of battling happening. It's going to cause people to pick up penalties. I was just going to talk about both Haas drivers close to one another. No moves made there for the time being. We have to switch back to George and Minico now. Minico, George, and Jack have a 3-car race into turn number 11. It's back to single file between them, but both Haas's do swap. And TB, who got that penalty, is now behind Korsman and just 2 places behind teammate Be Good. I'm going to have to go AFK quite quickly. In the meantime, I'm going to have you cover this battle for 4th, which is still not stopping contact. Jack and Be Good. They've had history like Miami prior.
Yeah, absolutely. Jack and Be Good bumping into each other, and Be Good takes advantage and gets himself into 6th place, getting past Jack. George still in pursuit of Minico, but Minico does get a little bit of a distance on George heading into out of turn number 2. Now I'm trying to reel it back in for turn number 5. See if Minico has a better response. Owen is the second driver to get himself into the penalty box. Turn number 2, he got it. Now DRS now enabled. I'm on board with George. Let's see what he's got as he makes his way. He's gonna take a shot down the inside, gets it done, and he is up into 4th place. Meanwhile, Korsman clearing Jack to get himself in the 7th. So Korsman starting down in 12th because of that 5-place grid drop. He's up into 7th place now in pursuit of the first of the Mercedes of Be Good. Way further back, the Alfa Romeos have swapped positions. J&T taking 19th from Barney. So Alfa Romeo, unfortunately, they're not doing too great in regards to that. But now back on with...
I'm back.
Now back on with, let's see, I'm on board with Korsman as he's got Be Good in his sights. Be Good chasing Minico down. Let's hope Minico and Be Good don't have the repeat of what happened last week in Spain. Let's see. Here goes Minico back to fighting against George, and he gets it done before turn number 1.
Oh!
He is in. Zatsy's retiring in the pits.
Luckily, that's in the pit lane, and also while that happened at turn 1, it was Be Good who got George, and George also side by side to turn number 3 with Korsman. It's a 6-car train here for P4, and now George is ahead fully of Korsman, but now we go to the back straight where lots of overtaking and ducking out will be happening. The first one who could be ducking out is Be Good. TB got Jack. Yep, you're right about that, but he has a penalty. So Be Good, the teammate, will try to help out for Mercedes to recover any lost points when the penalty gets applied 20 laps from now. Be Good up into 4th place. Beatnik losing a place and more yellow flags for Zatsy's car, but Hunted has got a penalty now. The 3rd one on track limits.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like it was in the same area that not Be Good, TB has it, as Korsman setting a shot on the inside against George in turn number 13, but just can't fully execute it, and TB's thinking, I'm going to take advantage of this, I'm going to make my move, and he goes in the outside, now inside the final couple of corners, and TB up to 7th.
Little slide there from Korsman on the traction when he got back on the power, and now he is going to have a peek on TB, but nothing from it. He does not go for the move. 5.8 seconds Cookies out into the race lead by over medium runner Scyther. And recent Cookie, both Red Bulls on the soft tires. Scyther is looking for what would be a 7th consecutive podium. Yellow flags further on back. It's for J&T, the first spinner this race.
Yeah, it looks like it was right at the exit of turn number 2. I'm thinking maybe he got a little cocky, caught the curb, and not curb can spin you off if you're not careful. Minico switches with Be Good, and Minico reclaims 4th.
Minico, little bit of trading going on between Merc Academy cars and himself, and earlier it was George. Is Be Good gonna have any peaks here to make the move? No, he's gonna tuck in behind and stay there. George wants to have a look on Be Good. George is having TB having a look on him right now. And the side-by-side action never stops because you have a 4-car battle further on back that's led by Beatnik, but we keep ourselves on for 5th and 6th place to see if any moves right there do get made. Beatnik, Bourbon, Hunted, and Barney, 2 Red Bull Academy cars versus 2 Ferrari Academy cars, go side by side, and Hunted is right there alongside Bourbon, but can't make the move stick. Nice little 4-car blanket here between these 4. Still rule on. Barney on the back of Hunted, nearly hitting him, but they all figure it out, it seems, for now. Nope, never mind. Both AlphaTauris going for a little switch. It's Bourbon going to lead the charge. Beatnik going in behind. And Hunted wanted to have a go, it looked like there, but couldn't do it.
Yeah, I was just on board with TB, who thought about trying to make a move on George before the final corner. Got a little bump surprise from Korsman in the final corner, but looks like both cars are okay.
3 wide almost. Now it's 3
Ooh,
wide
yeah.
for 4th place in this race. George gonna try to pick off both and almost gets spun by Be Good, but Be Good was able to cover off the corner just in time, and now Be Good has put George in a pressurizing situation with Minico, and Minico is gonna go around the outside and almost pick off both them. He's ahead of George momentarily.
Yeah, George and Minico still going at it side by side as Reese, by the way, just cleared Scyther for second.
Yeah, I think Scyther now seeing the tire wear face him for Ferrari on those mediums, and George trying to have a go around the outside but gets forced off for just a moment. Was Minico ahead at the exit of the corner? I think he barely was, so that may have been legal. However, Korsman and TB now are going to try to pick off the pieces in the DRS train. Who said DRS trains were boring? Because right now, second place in the DRS train is seeing full of overtakes.
Yeah, this train of Be Good all the way down to Andrea is getting pretty dang interesting by the minute. I mean, literally, it was fourth all the way down to eighth, but then Jack, DeChiller, and well, partly for a little bit, Andrea was joining in, but now fell out of it. Now he's back in it again. This train is just getting really more fun.
This is all for points positions, and now here goes Be Good with Minico side by side. They're at turn number 7, I believe, right there. You don't usually see that happen often, and when you do, it ends in tears. But now 5 cars under a blanket to head to the chicane, 3 wide. George on the inside line going very bold. Minico out in front for the chicane, and now at the exit of the chicane, it's Minico, Be Good, George, then TB, Korsman in on the mix, and it's all kicking off because George is going to go for the inside once again on Be Good.
Yeah,
through.
Be Good had poured out a lot of that DRS. Is George looking to go for 2? He's
2 by 2.
inside of Minico. Woo-hoo.
Wow.
Wowee.
Be Good gets TB, and Be Good looks to get Minico. 2 by 2 for a second again, accordion effect. That's almost damage for TB and Korsman, and because of the concertina effect, Jack Miles in on the mix, wanted to make some moves. Korsman down the inside, lunges and spins Be Good.
Oh no.
And he said Be Good was
little
ghosted,
too
that's
ambitious.
why.
Tried to go for the overtake against TB, misjudged his braking just enough, and sent Be Good into a spin. That is not fun.
Both Williams just swapped, the battle continuing with Bourbon, Barney, and Beatnik while that was happening. And Korsman, just through the iRacing voice chat that they all joined in on, including the likes of Reese, Cookie, Scyther, and Korsman himself, and Cam. During that, Scyther got Reese. Korsman said Be Good was ghosted. That's why that happened. So a little bit of lag involved in it, but Minico and George continue to swap places once again and go back at it. Reese got overtaken by Scyther for second place while that was happening. Scyther conserving ERS pretty well. He's on 63% battery as we speak.
Yeah, absolutely. George is
Gonna go for it again.
Ooh, here we go again.
George is through. He makes the overtake, and now TB looks to do the same. While that was happening earlier, we had both Williams going for a swap-a-roo between those two, and it's Luke Grange getting overtaken by Owen now. 2 mates right there.
I mean, I'm just gonna say this at this moment. I'm just gonna give some fair props to George here. He is doing pretty decently so far in the Ferrari, hanging tough with Minico against, well, before Be Good got spun out, Be Good and TB. He's holding his own in that Ferrari here in Tier 1, but I'm giving fair props to George. He is doing pretty good so far in this race.
He's doing a lot better than he previously would in Tier 1. He's only had 1 4th place finish, and in a Williams in that chaotic Imola race last season at round 5, he had a 5th place finish there. Those are his best finishes in RPL to date, but the last time he was with Ferrari and up this high on the grid, it was a P6 finish in Texas. Korsman getting Jack, Minico about to get George. They're all moving around on the straight. Minico did the most from it. He's up a place to 4th. And now George is about to be picked off by TB, the academy teammate of Minico's.
Yeah, George and Minico still brawling it out. And looks like Minico just got caught off a little worse for wear. TB comes
TB goes
in.
spinning! TB tried to throw it down the inside of George, and he's around.
I mean, I just saw it on Korsman's POV. I think TB got a little rambunctious to try to make the attack and got a little too close, and the collision happened between George and TB. I will say, I think by the looks of it, I think George should be okay, and is probably going to be not at fault for this.
The majority of pit stops are happening now, and this, I was just about to say, is exactly the time where this stuff should be happening. Scyther used a ton of battery to try to gain some back in the pit lane, but almost half the field here pitting on this lap. Reese, one of the big runners, pitting. George, one of the big runners, pitting. Korsman's name is on that list too. Owen almost sped into the pit lane right there. He had to be very careful, and nobody making a more hurting moment than McLaren right now by double stacking.
McLaren having a double stack, which means Andrea came out a little worse for wear. He's down in 15th, and Korsman with 13th at this moment as Cam overtaking TB, putting himself into 6th. But bear in mind, though, literally from Bourbon all the way up to Cookie, they have yet to pit. So, I mean, with Reese going in, since he was in the sauce, I would not be surprised to see Cookie coming in within the next lap or two. But at the moment, Cookie is staying out right now.
Korsman got George, Be Good got Andrea, and Jack Miles is in an Aston Martin sandwich. Scyther continuing to stay out in a Ferrari car that usually ends up wearing quite quickly. Be careful, guys. Don't speed in the pit lane. Minico is almost close to having that happen. He pits along with Jack Miles. Barney's in a DRS train now with Reese Dainty. Dainty on the back of Barney looking to get a place here and make the move. Reese gonna throw it to the outside line on the run to turn 1. Reese Dainty now gonna have his first proper lap to get an undercut on Scyther. Gets the place on Barney. Minico and Jack, who pitted a lap later, get undercut by George and Korsman.
Yeah, so George and Korsman undercutting, which gets them ahead of Minico. But bear in mind though, depending on what happens with the Korsman and Be Good incident a few laps ago, I mean, Korsman could be looking at some trouble there, as TB still yet to pit, clears Cam to get himself into 4th. Reese, by the way, doing nice and proper on hit track right now, about 4.7 seconds behind Luke, but I mean, he's not doing too bad. What's the time loss for this track for pits?
I have no idea. This is one of the 3 tracks I don't have, unfortunately. Owen and Andrea just swapped places further on back. Cookie is in from the race lead, going to mediums, doing the soft mediums as to be expected, whereas Scyther is sticking it out, maybe trying to do the revert strategy, which could be very shocking considering he's in a Ferrari and with a car with worse tire wear than Red Bull. It's not as easy to do a soft medium around here, but Scyther might be able to do that on the revert strategy.
It's highly likely, as Cookie coming out now is about 15 seconds behind Scyther at this time.
Hunted second penalty for him, so if that's the case, it's probably around 22-ish seconds. So where Scyther would come out would be behind Reese, but ahead of the others who are battling a massive amount further on back. So Reese would get the undercut. Scyther not going to overcut here unless he goes to the softs and has a really good final stint. Cam and Luke and TB are in a 3-car battle for, right now, 4th on track, but not going to be 4th once the pit stops all cycle themselves out. Bourbon got Barney just a moment ago, and we were speaking about strategy. I just want to speak about some things in terms of some teams looking for finishes. Hold on. Scrap that. Scrap going on for P4. TB around the outside of Cam. He once was a part of Williams' TB. He's now trying to overtake a Williams, and now Luke Range there to try to pick off the pieces further and back. It's Owen, Andrea, and J&T, and a gaggle way farther back. Cam is in.
Indeed, indeed. It's getting quite wild here as Cam is now heading in for the Williams. He was doing pretty decent, and but TB still staying out. So currently at this moment,
So is
once
Scyther.
Cam gets his pit complete, we have a few cars still yet to pit in this race. Scyther, the Chiller, TB, Luke, Bourbon, Barney, and J&T are the only cars yet to pit. As Reese, by the way, clears both Luke and TB. Now he is in fourth. Now has a decent gap to go. He has about 5.6 seconds to hunt down the Chiller.
Korsman also got Barney. He was getting a little frustrated with him, but I think Barney was trying to do the favor for George in the Ferrari Academy as well by catching him up, and now a 4-car battle on the run to the chicane. Korsman ducks out and does get Bourbon before the corner. George now will do the same. So 2 overtakes on the back straight completed. Korsman a penalty. He jumped over the curb there and got nabbed for track limits. Andrea, the teammate as well, making a move further on back with Owen. Cam, the Williams teammate, making an overtake himself.
Yeah,
Scyther's still staying
and,
out.
yeah, Korsman turned a tiny bit too early.
He's on
for that second
60%.
for that second corner right there.
Scyther's on 62% on the tires. The Chiller's finally in. The reason I mention this, as Cookie sets the fastest lap, as Luke also comes in with TB, is because if he gets a safety car here, Scyther, this would be prime position for him. And there's no way he's not going softs right now based on how he's stretching this.
He
Don't
says
see how.
62% on the mediums that he's on for Scyther.
Yeah, I just checked the Discord stream that he has popped up in the iRacing channel, and he has 60-some% on those tires.
Jesus.
That is insane.
we're
He's
only
the only
on-
one streaming of them in the Discord. Yellow flags. That is for J&T, the second time he is facing trouble.
Well, let's see. We're currently
Jack Miles and Barney,
almost on
Minico and Bourbon, and now a side-by-side race with George and Korsman. 3 races into the chicane. Sorry, Titan, to cut you off, but this is all kicking off again. Andrea with a penalty. Jack got Bourbon again. And George and Korsman now are wheel-to-wheel on the run to turn number 10. George with the outside line. Korsman, oh, contact on the straight. Did Korsman move over and think he was clear? That could have ended in tears. Scyther's in.
Scyther is in. Korsman got a little,
going for
got
softs.
a little wiggle woggle somewhere. That's for sure. That's what a contact. I was just on board with Jack, who did a thrilling overtake on Bourbon in the braking zone. I mean, with the ERS deployed and everything, Jack was almost at 210 miles an hour in the braking zone and just rocketed past Jack. Jack rocketed past Bourbon like he was sitting still.
Scyther barely is ahead of George and Korsman with the overcut. Bourbon's in, Barney's in. Everybody has pitted this race who is in a points running position, and now that battle for P4 is back once again, and it's Korsman who has the position right now. George holds it if it comes to ending this race now on penalties. And Scyther will now chase after Reese for second place on the new, fresher, soft tires. So Scyther making the overcut work, and now his teammate trying to get fourth place on the cards.
I mean, to be fair, if Scyther roughly around 65% on the tires when he was on that medium stint, 65% in the span of 16 laps, That means Scyther was averaging about 4% a lap on those medium tires. I mean, given he's on the softs, I mean, you'll expect a bit more worse tire wear for him. I mean, if I'm going to have to take a wild guess for him, I would probably say his softs are going to be, I'm going to say right around the same stretch as his mediums were at the end of the race. Around 65%.
Battle further on back. Andrea and Owen just outside the points. Owen almost off the circuit there. Owen back down the inside. And this was the car Owen was supposed to be on loan to, but he's now racing for what could be a points position here soon. We'll find out if that happens. Korsman made a mistake there at turn 1, allowing Miniko to go through. And a second McLaren has been overtaken there in the first sector. It's now Andrea who has been overtaken by Owen. And just a moment ago, before all this was happening, TB got Luke, former teammates there. And TB now gets Andrea for the time being.
Yeah, TB is just on a bit of a tear right now as he's trying to get back some of the positions back after that incident a little bit earlier that he had with George earlier. And Jack, by the way, just cleared Korsman to get himself into 7th. I mean, just gotta be saying, the Ferrari is showing really good shines of strength. McLaren is faltering.
Titan Luke just got 3 cars at once right there. Owen, Andrea, and TB. A 3-car lunge there. Well, partially a lunge on the back straight allows Luke to go through. And now TB's having a look to try to get back past and reclaim the spot. Andrea and Owen now have a little battle for 13th now because they just got overtaken by 2 cars right there.
My goodness, Luke is doing pretty strongly himself. He's just got 1.7 seconds to go to catch
Owen, by the way.
Cam to see himself into the points.
Owen made a nice dive bomb there. And Miniko trying to look to the inside. Nothing made from it. Jack Miles is still there. Korsman is still there. If Scyther reaches a puncture with this Ferrari because tire wear is that bad with this car, which I doubt can happen at the pace he's running, Jack Miles could be on a run for a podium here for Alpine to get their first of this game cycle. It's been that long since they had one. 4-car race now for 4th place. George maintains it. Miniko trying to get it back. And now side by side for 6th place.
Miniko down the inside against George, gets it done. He's up in the 4th place. Korsman responds as well, getting past Jack to get himself in the 6th. And it looks like he's going to make a try to go for 5th. He does so, maybe not. He's going to go for 4th. Korsman roaring his way around and gets 3 cars in the span of 4 corners.
I feel like a lot this race, because of the DRS trains, the mind games, and the amount of straight line speed from some cars, we've seen 2 to 3 car overtakes a lot. It's insane. And Scyther, who is 2.8 behind Reese, is now on 16% on his tires throughout 3 laps.
Jeez. That means he's averaging almost 6% a lap, roughly.
It's rough for him, but you know what? It will pay off if he can just get Reese Dainty. Wow.
Man.
Scyther's had a podium in 16 of his last 18 starts prior to today. And he could be looking at another one tonight. Someone who could not be looking at a streak that they'd be continuing is the fake TB, because right now, although he's 11th, he has a penalty and would be outside the points. He scored points in every race this season. He's the only one. Miniko now chasing after Korsman on the run toward the chicane. He's going to snatch the place here as he dives to the inside and makes the move stick. TB gets Cam.
My, oh my. I mean, Miniko is really showing his redemption for sure. Up just like he did last week. He was fighting really strongly in Spain last week. But like I said, last week he got done in by a late a late race collision with Be Good, but Be Good all the way down in 9th place. And by the way, I just want to note, one of the Mercedes is looking at no points, that being TB. He does have a track limit penalty, but he's got Cam and Luke right on his back end.
They've gone 2 full seasons as of today without having a race outside the points. 44 races ago, the last time they did not score points, that was round 9, season 8. A 2-season streak could be coming undone for Mercedes today if things do not go their way. DRS all the way in these trains from 4th to 7th, and then 8th and 9th is a battle where DeChiller picked off Be Good, and DeChiller with another penalty that helps out Mercedes. DeChiller's had really good pace this race, and he's been one who's quiet, but the penalties will cost him, because 10th on back all the way to 12th. DRS train there too. That's for points.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just taking a look at the points now as Luke clears Cam to get himself into 11th. He just has to chase TB down just a little bit more to try to go for the position. But right now, Cam and Luke are looking to overtake TB for position. But in regards to Luke, if he wants to get Be Good and Cam to get Be Good as well, they have to gain at least another 2 to 3 seconds.
Hunted with yet another penalty to his name. Hunted now on 9 seconds, the most of anybody a part of that penalty club. The gap with Minico to Scyther is now 13 seconds. Scyther just trailing Reese by 2/10. We'll find out if Reese can keep him at bay. Further on back, there's battling, but we have a battle further up that we need to see because one of the guys back there, Andrea, with 9 seconds now. Same amount as Hunted. He equals that. And we could be seeing a move with Reese and Scyther on the DRS back straight now. With Scyther just 4/10 back. But 14 seconds out of Minico.
Looking to gain his way up into second place, to try to go for a second place, to lessen the damage of that gap between him and Cookie in the championship standings. But at the moment, he just didn't see an opportunity to go for an attack to get that second place. He's going to have to wait a little bit longer to go for that shot.
I'm laughing because Race is laughing at Scyther for not going past. Speaking about people who are going past, Be Good through on DeChiller. That is for 8th place. Both have penalties. The expense of it, though. The ones who also have penalties further up on the road is Korsman and could be facing one in the stewards room later. Minico on those hards is really losing out, so we'll see how much time he loses to Scyther and Reese by the end of this race. Just a few more laps remaining. No VSCs, no safety cars, a clean French Grand Prix once again.
Well, I'm just seeing on the penalty markers now, DeChiller has 6 seconds of penalties compared to Be Good and TB, who both have 3. So right now, at this present time, DeChiller is going to be knocked out of the points. He'll lose P9 he'll lose P9, P10, and go down to P11. He'll go down to P12 with the penalties that he's got. But right now, at this present moment in time, ooh, yeah.
Nice move. Nice move. It was in the braking zone, but with DRS and a little late there. Not considered a lunge, but DeChiller, congrats to you having nice wheel-to-wheel racing this week compared to last week. Much improved, but not on the penalties, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. And like I was saying before, at this present time right now, DeChiller, like I said, is going to fall down to P12 right now. Be Good is going to lose. He is going to gain a place because of DeChiller's penalties, but he's going to lose that place right back to Luke because Be Good to Luke 2.2 seconds right now, and a big shock at this moment, Cam has just entered into the 3-second range of Be Good. So TB, his teammate, is at risk of no points as well.
Oh boy, well that's interesting. One thing that's also interesting is Scyther staying behind Reese, and he's going to continue to do so because he's the man with a plan. I just voice chatted to Scyther saying, overtake Reese with the mind games that he's pulled off right now. And he said, you don't understand. I have a plan. Well, Bourbon gets Andrea, 3-car race further on back here. Bourbon gets a penalty because he went off the track. And he re-entered in front of Andrea. Further in front of that, Academy teammates DeChiller and Be Good do a little switching. Barney and Andrea also do switching for a battle outside the points, but still could be points if something crazy happens in front of them with this 4-car race that they could take advantage of.
You know, if I'm thinking like Scyther, I think I may have an idea what he's doing, because Reese right now, is, in regards to ERS, Reese is sitting at 30% ERS, while Scyther has double the amount. I'm thinking what Scyther has in store in regards to a plan. I'm thinking with probably either in the penultimate lap or the final lap, Scyther's going to release all that ERS and overtake Reese and take that position and get him and finish off in second. I'm guessing that's probably going to be his plan.
Barney gets Bourbon for 14th right there outside the points. I'm sorry, I can't contain myself from Scyther and Reese because I think Scyther's charging up and might go for a fastest lap or just something. I don't know what it is, but he's interesting with this plan. Bourbon, Andrea, Barney, 3-car battle here. Inside line for Andrea. His race has been hampered since the qualifying he had, but he gets the move done on Barney. He gets 15th place there. 14.8 to Cookie, by the way, who's looking to win yet another race this season. If Scyther comes home second, it'd be the fifth time that Scyther and Cookie come home 1-2. DeChiller gets Be Good. Be Good gets yet another penalty for Mercedes. And Jack Miles was overtaken just a moment ago by DeChiller. Or not DeChiller, George, excuse me. Flashbacks to him being in Ferrari.
Yeah, I'm actually just taking a look at the intervals right now. With DeChiller having the penalties that he has, I'm looking at this. Well, I will say this. At this moment, it looks like with Be Good having an extra penalty on him, Be Good is going to maintain, is going to be the one knocked out of the points, as George is looking to go for a move on Korsman to try to take 5th place, but just couldn't do it.
Oh, here he goes.
Now he goes
later
for
on
at
turn
corner.
11. Oh my God, that lunge just worked out, but Korsman's still sticking it in there on the inside line. George out-tractions him and gets the move done. Late dive at turn 11 excels for George to go to 5th. And he could be looking at tying his best finish tonight.
That
2 laps
was
to go.
A very good overtake by George right there. That was actually a really ambitious, really high-risking attack, as Korsman's fighting back on the outside. Now the inside of turn 2 couldn't do it. George maintains that 5th.
It's the type of moves that make you hold your breath, because George and Korsman duking it out once again, and TB gets DeChiller. Luke is right there in the mix of things. Now Scyther goes through for 2nd place, and now could be chasing after the fastest lap in this race. Further on back, because of Scyther taking 2nd. That is his plan. Here goes 4th place. 3-car race now to turn number 8.
Ooh,
George
baby.
getting Minico. Further on back, Luke gets DeChiller on track 2.
Wow, what a war between these guys, and it's still not over. Korsman making his move. He gets past Minico. Will he do the same thing George did? George covering out the inside. Minico moves over.
Minico around the outside to try to the cutback here to have the outside line once again on George. Korsman waiting to pounce in the background. Jack Miles there, the Academy teammate of Korsman's. 1 lap to go, and it's not just done yet between these guys. Minico trying to get 4th back over George. And Scyther using all the battery to try to take fastest lap from Cookie. Cam into Chiller. Trade spots for 11th.
And Luke just put himself into the points as Korsman clears Minico, but just can't seem to do it against George. He's gonna have one opportunity to get it done, and that's on the back straight. But Minico also knows it too. I'm thinking if I was Minico, I would follow Korsman to go for a shot against George down the back straight.
It's still not over because Reese Dainty is trying to at least keep Scyther in striking distance. Therefore, he does not steal the fastest lap. Cookie's in the final sector now. We'll flick back to Cookie in just a moment, but we have to get the chicane.
Oh my God, here we go. Korsman slingshots his way through. He gets ahead up in the fourth, but like I said, Korsman will have that penalty, so he's going to lose quite a bit of ground against this field. But my God.
What a race in France, Titan. It's Cookie in RPL's return to France, who is crossing the line now to win another race in a row, 3 in a row. The second time he's done that this season. He's the winner in France. Cookie is by 12 plus seconds. It's still not over further back. Scyther trying to get fastest lap. George trying to hold on for 4th on penalties with Minico having a late charge. Scyther comes home for a 7th consecutive podium. Reese comes home for a 32nd podium for Red Bull. Side by side drag race to the line now. Minico, George, 4th on penalties. It's not over. George is going to get him. Minico there as well with Jack. Jack got Minico, and they're crashing further back. Be good. TB.
Oh
they hold on for points, Mercedes.
Come from?
17 thousandths Minico just missed out on Jack. Luke got 7th in his first race for Alpine this season. Korsman got 8th and Cam got 9th for Williams to make it their 200th point.
Wow.
And it's still not over. Hunted, who won this race in Tier 2, is now trying not to finish last on track. Mercedes keep the point streak alive. Red Bull keep the winning alive with yet another win. Reese, podium number 32 with the team as Hunted spins around. That's an all-time equaling record with a single team. J&T is 18th. You see our cars now outside the points crossing the line. Jack, Minico, and George just under a 10th and a half to decide 4th place. And that is it from our runners. 19 of 20 runners completed the race. 1 DNF.
My God.
We only lost 1.
I'm at a loss of words for that. That last lap war for 4th was just so thrilling to watch.
Your podium celebrations are now underway for Cookie, who won by a massive 12 plus second margin over Scyther in the end, who finished 2nd. Reese was 3rd for Red Bull. Scyther has been on podium in 17 of his last 19 starts now. Pure insanity. You'll see our final results pop up in a minute in our return to France and RPL. But I want to mention some notable drivers for Driver of the Day, as it was Cookie who kept fastest lap. Here are some notable ones as you see our results. Jack Miles for Alpine. Luke for Alpine. Cam for Williams. Also, George for Ferrari, his best Tier 1 showing, I would say. Minico for Aston. Scyther for Ferrari, making the reverse strategy work and get 2nd place because that's all he had. And Cookie winning by 11 seconds.
Wow, that was a really good race. But I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, originally I thought the choice of who I was gonna pick for driver today was gonna be very, very difficult. But I have made my decision. I've made my call on who I think driver today is gonna be, based on how good he was in qualifying, how well he handled himself in the race, maintaining that poor tire wear, and everything. And I'm gonna say and I'm saying it because I think it's well. I think this is well deserved. But I think, in my opinion, George is my pick for driver of the day.
I agree. I was really considering Luke. I was considering Jack. Scyther is a shout, but I can't choose him. I have to say, in terms of the Ferrari tire wear, like you said, also the best Tier 1 showing we've seen from him thus far, he earns his second, fourth place finish in Tier 1, just short of a podium. I'm saying he's driver of the day. George is. He's going to get a podium here soon. And that switch to PC, he's proving that he's fast once again in RPL. One-upping the field there with
I think it'll
the DRS
happen.
train.
It's just a matter of due time. But I have a good feeling. I
agree.
think George has the capability to do it.
So, 70 you still watching. We didn't update you guys on the tracks we're at next week, but here are the tracks we're at next week for Tier 2 and Tier 1. Tier 2 is in Zandvoort, and Tier 1 is in Canada. The racing is not done this weekend. We have Formula Endurance tomorrow in Texas. Not sure what the commentary lineup will look like because the Super Bowl Sunday is the reason that's being held back a little bit in terms of who will be alongside me. But Texas for tomorrow. More racing that will be action-packed around a circuit that is crazy. But yeah, it's crazy like we saw tonight in tonight's race. It'll be crazy tomorrow too.
To be fair, in regards to, like, since you were mentioning the Super Bowl, I just took a look. And for me and you, since we're in the Eastern Standard Time Zone, the game doesn't start till 6:30. So we're good in
That's
that
true.
regard.
But there's people who will probably go places earlier.
That's true.
Breaking news: the Chiller objectives failed. Contract terminated.
Ooh.
He's going to be going to a second team this season, or sorry, a second change, third team this season if he's going to be on the grid. But wow,
Well, that's unfortunate.
so Texas tomorrow. We'll see what happens for Formula Endurance. Our return to France was a very clean one because we had 19 of 20 runners finish the race. We come just short of having a no retirement race in Tier 1. It's happened in Tier 2 this game. It's not happened in Tier 1 yet. We'll find out if that happens anytime soon. Either way, Formula Endurance tomorrow for Texas. Tier 2 is in Zandvoort. And then in F1 next week, we go to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve to race for round 10 of the 26 race season. Shall be interesting to see what ends up happening in next week's event in Canada. Commentators Ryan Searles and Titan Iron Wolf signing off.